first of all, I'd like to introduce Rajiv Agarwal, who's the Managing Director and CEO of Essar Ports in India.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about the evolving maritime landscape and blue economy in the Indian context. So, as we all know, the world is changing. We are becoming more and more conscious about, the environmental issues, and rightly so. And what India is doing, that part of the world where the things are going, I'll just try to give a glimpse of that. So, as we all know, the world is pivoting towards decarbonization, and zero carbon technologies like green hydrogen are being talked about everywhere. To an extent, it seems very fashionable and maybe a bit ahead of time, but then time has come and it has to start sometime. So, and the COVID-19 coupled with the geopolitical disturbances which are there in many parts of the world, the wars that are going on, have presented another side of it, and the world economic landscape is greatly impacted, and the global supply chains are quite disturbed. In this context, the Indian economy is somehow managing to constantly strengthen itself, and it is poised to be one of the 3 largest economies in the world in the next couple of years. The S&P forecasted India to be the 3rd largest economy. By 2030, it should be around 6.7 or 7 trillion. Today, it is close to about 4 trillion. And we expect that we should be able to be the 3rd largest economy in a couple of years. Government of India has projected, however, that India would reach $30 trillion US by 2047. That is the year where we achieve 100 years of our independence. So it's a tall order. Mathematically, it looks very doable, but it is never so easy. So a lot of effort has to be done. So we are at it. The biggest strength that I feel India has is that it has 140 or 145, or means 1.45 billion people, and many of them are still growing up and going up the value chain. So which gives the hope that, on a per capita basis, the income levels are going up every year, and we should be able to be there or in that vicinity by 2047. Recently, in the G20 summit, India launched the India, Middle East, Europe corridor, economic corridor, which is also purposed to kind of create better logistics, better cooperation between India, Middle East, and Europe, and facilitate trade. Focus on self-sufficiency, this has been a mantra. Over the last 7-8 years, India is trying to be self-reliant in almost everything that we import. We are a very large consuming economy. So our benefit is that it's a great advantage that we have. So we are able to create manufacturing bases for things which are consumed in the country. And our attempt is that after oil, like for example, our biggest import happens to be electronics. So the government planned that we want to make cell phones, we want to get into wafers, we want to backward integrate. So that's one attempt. On the other side, we will be talking about clean energy and how we can be self-sufficient in our energy needs. So India is trying to reach net zero emissions. Our goal is to reach by 2070, and 50% of our power generation capacity to come from non-fuel sources as early as 2030. So to give you some stats, India is pushing to be 500 gigawatts of clean energy capacity by 2030. Today, the total capacity that we have for power in the country is around 450 gigawatts, and about 180 of that is clean, solar, wind, etc. And another 50 is in the pipeline, which will get done in a year or so. So basically, we are very close to more than half of it already being done on, by way of clean energy. Recently, the Prime Minister announced our vision for 2047, the Maritime vision for 2047, and the major themes I would just touch upon are to lead the world in safe, sustainable, and green maritime sector, where 14 ports will be carbon neutral, and they will act as hydrogen and ammonia hubs. In fact, in the conference in which he released this report, about $100 billion were committed towards green energy on the ports, basically because it was a maritime summit, but about $100 billion US dollars were committed towards green energy, hydrogen, ammonia, etc. LNG bunkering facility, 90% of the port equipment being electrified, and 90% share in renewable energy. So a huge impetus is being given for sustainable energy, and the port sector and the marine sector is taking a lead role in this. Promote ocean, coastal, and river cruise sector. Enhance model share of coastal shipping and inland waterways. As you all know, that India has a huge, coastal waterfront, almost 15,000 kilometers, and India wants to use it more and more for maritime and shipping, because traditionally our highest share is transportation is through the road sector, then comes railways, and then comes ports. So we need to enhance that so that it also helps in reduced emissions. Promote maritime cluster development, promote maritime professional services, become a global player in shipbuilding, repair, and recycling. As I mentioned a little while earlier, that we want to be self-sufficient, so we want to move towards shipbuilding in a big way, repairs and recycling. Develop world-class education and research and training, which we already are in many ways. We produce the best seafarers, and there is, I think after IT, I would say this is one sector where we have done well. Strengthen India's global maritime presence, develop world-class next-generation ports, and the target here is to create a capacity of 10,000 million metric tons of cargo to be moved per annum. Today, our capacity on our ports is 2,500, and the cargo which moves is around 1,800 million metric tons annually. We want to take it to 10,000 million metric tons by 2047. And the traffic at that time would be 70% of that, which is about 7,000 million metric tons. So India has a cluster of ports all around the country, and we have a focus that not just the government ports, but there are a lot of private ports also which are contributing to it. Enhance efficiency through technology and innovation, enhance Indian tonnage, which means that India would like to carry a lot of its cargo. If it is going to be a very large economy, then it should carry a huge part of its cargo on its own tonnage. So these are the focus areas. On green shipping and carbon neutrality, which is a big focus, we are looking at development of alternate fuels, which is green ammonia, green methanol, LNG powered vessels, integrating the ports into the decarbonization energy network like renewable power. So ports are becoming, the place where a lot of these, green renewable power is generated, and facilities are created for hydrogen and ammonia, green ammonia. Zero carbon fuel and storage, which is ammonia, hydrogen, biofuel, battery, on vessel, carbon capture, etc. onboard vessel power systems and fuel storage systems, onshore power, shore power, which will minimize combustion of fuel while the ships are there. Electrical vehicles to be used, only electrical vehicles to be used within the ports, all cargo handling equipment to be electricity driven, 33% of port areas to be green, and increase in the share of sea transportation, and carbon capture systems and sequestration of carbon. So basically carbon capture, which is also a very big focus area. So the key commodities which we feel in future, which are going to be the energy sources are going to be LNG, biofuel, blue and green hydrogen, and blue and green ammonia as a vector for transportation. Now the refineries today are becoming, again, are being converted to start processing, co-processing biofuels and emerging as hydrogen and renewable fuel hubs. To reduce carbon emission, blending has been mandated across countries and carbon capture gained significance. So here in Essar, we also have refinery in UK. We used to have a refinery in India, which we have divested, but we have a very large refinery in the UK, and we are converting it into a green refinery. I'll talk about it a little later. So as far as Essar is concerned, my company for which I work, our theme is decarbonization, decentralization, and digitization. This is how we are trying to transform our operations across sectors, and we are present in steel, in metals and mining, in refining and oil and gas. We produce coal bed methane, and we have ports and shipping. So these are some of our, and of course power. So these are our areas of focus, and these are all connected with decarbonization, and also decentralization is that we are across geographies. So we are looking at Saudi Arabia for some large investments. We are already present in the UK. We are also developing something in the US where we have coal, iron ore mines. So, and Indonesia where we have mines. So decentralization of our operation, becoming a global company truly, and digitization, which of course is the future and the focus. As Essar Ports, we developed 168 million tons of port capacity over the years, and we have divested a part of our portfolio, and we today have one port in India and one port which we operate and run in the UK. So on the refinery side, in Stanlow, in UK, in Chester, we run the second or the third largest refinery in the UK with a 10 million ton capacity. We are converting so we will import green ammonia from India, which we will be producing ourselves at one of our ports in Jamnagar, and we will be also importing biofuels and blending it to in the refinery process for producing the products. We are also, we have a very large, we have 900 acres, so we have very large storage capacity, about 3.3 million cubes of storage capacity, which is probably one of the larger ones in the UK. And we want to use this facility again for this purpose with and produce blue hydrogen from the hydrogen, which is the gas which is produced from the refining process. We want to use it for producing blue hydrogen. So that's our plan for transformation in the refinery in UK. And in India, we are progressing towards, we call it the Essar energy transition, where we are looking at 1 gigawatts of green hydrogen project with powered by 100% renew power. And the target is also to produce 0.8 million tons of per annum of ammonia, because ammonia can be easily transported. And this investment we will phase over the next 4-5 years. And this port that we are talking about is already operational. We have one terminal there which has a 20 million capacity, and we want to increase that in the next maybe 5-7 years to about 200 million tons, all based on green fuels and fuels of the future. We are also looking at producing SAF and biodiesel, basically sustainable aviation fuel, by using used cooking oil. We will set up a refinery at the site where the port is, and this will be exported and also marketed within the country. So these are some of our plans towards greening of our operations to produce green hydrogen and green fuels. Also, we are connected in the value chain because we produce power, we produce diesel and gasoline, etc. So, and we have a port, and we are fully connected in a way. So as far as our terminal in India, which is in Gujarat, which has a 20 million ton capacity, is an operational terminal. We are looking at going by 2050 to make it completely carbon neutral and take it to about 200 million tons of capacity, and diversify from dry bulk terminal to a container LNG, fuel and chemical terminal. Thank you.